Today we chat with Taylor Norris. Taylor is a Usui Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki Master. She's also a certified Galactic Astrology Soul Reader and Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner. She combines her love of Reiki and astrology to create unique offerings to share with her community. She also holds an MS in psychology and is an integrative nutrition holistic health coach certified. Taylor is Reiki and universally guided and is here to shed some light on these topics. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you so much, Rose. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you're here. And you have so many other certifications. I didn't want to read them all here, but I will put them all in the bio. So I'm really impressed with all the things that you've learned. And I'm really grateful that you're here today. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to be on this healer's path.
I think it's really been a deep calling since a young age, being in that awareness as a child that, I was connected to the other realms and to the wind and to the trees and the flowers and the animals and to the stars. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed looking at the stars so much when I was a little girl, and yeah. Yeah, and then always just having this natural kind of desire to heal and help and assist others from day one. I think because I was so sensitive and with very open, clear senses and very, very aware. So I had all of that within me as a child, and then aging and growing and having my own experiences as a very open, sensitive, empathic, tuned in human being in a world and in a culture and in a context where that wasn't supported, acknowledged, reinforced, anything like that. So I learned to shut a lot of that down, and it was very dysfunctional and not so manageable. So yeah, I turned to yoga to help kind of bring back that sense of order and grounding and connection. I didn't know why, but I felt so much better every time after a yoga class. And I started taking yoga actually when I was in high school, and I swear it was the thing that got me through high school and college. Was I would still go to yoga class no matter how crazy and, not spiritual and inauthentic I was living, because that's really how it felt for me the first um, part of my life, up until about age 22, 20 to 22, I started having a big spiritual awakening and kind of had a whole life and lifestyle reorientation. And it was like everything that came before needed to be radically shifted and altered. And I really, yeah, through so much, it felt like pressure and sudden change, I was compelled to seek healing and seek alternative methods of healing, lots and lots of psychotherapy and lots of yoga and holistic healing, changing my diet, like being such a sensitive person. I found I couldn't eat what normal quote unquote people eat, and that I was really a lot better supported by like a more vegetarian, vegan, and then raw vegan diet, and finding that was so huge for me. And then being even more opened up spiritually by cleaning out my lifestyle. It was like even more sensitivity to manage. So that's where ultimately, thank goodness, I was guided eventually to Reiki, and not even knowing why I was there. I was practicing as a holistic health coach at the time and had just left kind of a spiritual community within Tibetan Buddhism and a deep meditation practice. Meditation was one of the modalities that really helped me a lot. But it was like by closing that chapter, I was then able to finally find Reiki, not having any expectations of what I was going to do with it, if anything, and having that immediate connection of like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for all along in my travels and my exploration of different traditions and philosophies and modalities. It was just like so clean and clear and pure. And I haven't looked back. It's just been, how can I integrate Reiki into everything I do?
Yeah. That's what we do,
And
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. You like, how did you get on the path, or where did you find the resources that you did for Reiki or these other modalities?
At a deeper level, what I attribute everything to was my future self sending Reiki back to my past self. It's
Yeah.
like how any of it happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, uh,
all the guidance, the assistance, the healing, and yeah, it was like my future self that became Reiki attuned and placed and all of that, assisting that younger version and like shining the light when I needed to follow the light. And I'm feeling emotional just,
uh-uh.
like even in the Reiki placements and experiences, it's always like, follow the light. And I think it's been Reiki guiding me
That's
all
beautiful.
along. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I know a lot of my listeners are Reiki practitioners and have received Reiki. So this is a beautiful story that you shared. Thank you for that. And you were talking about the age of 21, 22, when a lot of the shifts changed or happened for you. Do you attribute that to any astrological event, perhaps? I know that that's about the time something happens, like a Saturn return, for example.
It was actually prior to my Saturn return. Saturn return for me brought with it another. Saturn return really brought me to Reiki, is actually what happened. But at age 20 to 22, I was looking back at this recently because we just had this Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus, and looking back at um, the previous Jupiter Uranus conjunction, it was 13 to 14 years ago. And that was around the time when I was having my spiritual awakening. And yeah, so it was like
Wow.
that huge transit for all of us, for me, was like a life dismantling of like everything that had been, and seeing through a lot of illusions, delusions, and the way things were, everything the way things were was no more for me suddenly. And that's what really ignited my healing journey. And I was kind of, floundering for a while. And it wasn't until my Saturn return that I actually did find Reiki. And it was like, oh my gosh, everything started clicking
Mm.
into place, more of that divine order. But yeah, there were a lot of that transit, making the awareness of the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, and how when that when any of the astrological transits are experienced unconsciously, and many people are pretty unconscious until that first Saturn return. We're just going through our patterns, our inherited issues, and like the scripts that were set out for us. And so I was doing a lot of that, but Jupiter Uranus did wake me up, because the way it was interacting with my chart, it was squaring my ascendant and my descendant. The Jupiter Uranus conjunction was in the late degrees of Pisces and then into early Aries. And so it was challenging me to really reconsider who I am, my ascendant, and then how I'm interfacing with the world, all of my relationships, my descendant.
Wow. Well, it's nice that you're aware of what's happening and how your chart, excuse me, affects you. And a lot of people are not. So astrology, if we could just touch upon astrology a little bit, um, I'm hoping that by now, with the internet and so much information and so many wonderful people like you, teachers like you, and astrologers like you, people are now more open to understanding uh, what a chart is, what an astrology or astrological chart is, and the placements and so forth, because it does help guide a person, whether understanding what has happened to them in their life, right? And then it can help guide them into, making decisions about certain things upcoming. Am I correct in saying that? Would you say that, right?
It's
And then
helpful.
it's helpful. Now, what drew you to study and practice galactic astrology? So you understand, now I want to say regular astrology. What's the term for your traditional astrology? And now we have galactic astrology, which is something totally different and somewhat recent, would you say? It's kind of in the past, what, 15 or 20 years that has come about? Can you talk a little bit about that whole process, how you got to that point, and also what it is?
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back to just experiencing a transit unconsciously is when it's really challenging. And that when we become more conscious, astrology helps with this, Reiki helps with this, meditation, so many different modalities and techniques help us become more conscious, more aware, so that we can co create with the transit. So the same exact kinds of energies don't necessarily aren't bad or aren't experienced so like traumatically or in such a destabilizing way. So I wanted to mention that that's really one of the ways something like astrology can help you navigate your life and have a higher perspective of your life, and then also to not fear what's coming moving forward. Like I never want anybody to be afraid of, oh, we have this transit or this eclipse or what it is, because that's so much of our, human nature wiring, is that fear response and the fret, fight or flight response. And that's where Reiki is so helpful for just staying calm. What are the opportunities for what's ahead? And Reiki is naturally opening, us to be more conscious and more aware. And so viewing astrology through that lens of like, I'm a conscious being, I am calm and centered, and how can I make the most and bring out the best of these energies? That's really how I like to use astrology. And I think that's part of why I was drawn to galactic astrology, is that it was different. It's
Mm.
new. There's a lot of possibilities for what it is and how it's practiced. And I was very fortunate to find a teacher who encourages us to use our intuition when we do readings, encourages us to not just look at the charts, but tune into the soul records, either by dowsing or activating the clear senses in some other way. For me, I access that information through Reiki Journey. So I'm naturally drawn to teachers who are like, I'm going to teach you a style in a way, but also there's so much room and freedom for growth, and like you find your own style, you use your own techniques. Like those tend to be the people that I can actually learn from.
I love that. It puts a unique approach to it. And I am the same way because being an Aquarian, I don't like to do things the way everyone else does. So I like to do things that are unique. And this galactic astrology kind of drew me in because it was something I had never heard of, and I'm interested in knowing more about it. But I do appreciate you bringing back the the topic of the unconsciousness and how Reiki has helped people to not fight what is happening, not resist it, and allow it to occur for your greatest and highest good, however that is. So, how you were describing before your Saturn return and how things just happened, that's the energy of Saturn, right? Saturn comes and says, "Okay, this is not working for you. Let's get this out of the way, and let's put a new spin on it, and see how that works." And if more and more people understood that, they wouldn't be fighting against the flow of life. I feel. Yeah.
Well, Saturn just wants you to make the very most of the time available. Saturn is Lord of time. So it's like, how do you want to spend the next 30 years of your life? What's the best use of your gifts and talents? Why are you here? What brought you here? What are you meant to do? How are you serving others in a practical, tangible way? What's your legacy gonna be when you leave the planet? So it has a really nice reorienting effect and like leveling up on your next cycle of 30 years as well, because we get the second Saturn return at the end of the 50s into 60. And it's like, how do you want to use this, possibly final third of your life? How do you want to use your time? What do you want to focus on too, with all the different possibilities and life experiences and variety that's available here?
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that as well. A lot of my listeners are probably moving towards that second Saturn return. And they may not understand what that means, but they may now be curious and understand. I'm at my second, or I had my second Saturn return a few years ago, and it really allowed me to pause, or made me pause and think about, okay, what do I want to do with the next 20 years of my life? And it was huge reflection for me. So hopefully I'm on the right path for that. I think I have some idea. So,
I
and this is,
suspect you are.
thank you. Um, so yeah, so let's talk about now. Let's talk about a little bit about galactic astrology, and how we incorporate the star system into astrology.
So in regular astrology, I say the same thing because there's so many different
Yeah.
traditions and types of astrology. There's traditional, there's Hellenistic, there's Vedic, there's Eastern, there's Western, there's archetypal. I was just speaking to someone studying archetypal astrology. There's
Oh, wow.
vibrational astrology. So I guess what I mean when I'm like regular astrology is Western tropical astrology is is what I first started learning is Western tropical astrology. And I was drawn to a more intuitive approach to that. And also to evolutionary astrology, which is looking at the astrology of the soul. And it was the evolutionary astrology that really got me interested because you could find out about past lives and like what were you up to? What are your gifts and talents and your mastery and your ability that you're bringing into this lifetime? And also, what's your soul's purpose for the current lifetime? Was a huge question for me. It's a huge question for many of us is what is my life purpose? And then even at a deeper level, what is my soul's purpose? Why am I here? And evolutionary astrology can help answer some of that by looking at Pluto, planet Pluto, the nodes of the moon. And with galactic astrology, you can get even more information about that. You can build upon that information and get even more insights about other lifetimes and parallel lives, future lives, other past lives, lives and soul connections and spirit guides in other star systems. And I think another big part of why I was drawn to it is because it's looking not just at the sun and the solar system and the planets in this system, it's actually looking at other stars like our sun and making these connections. It's like higher frequencies and higher octaves of archetypal energies we're working with and an even more expanded perspective. astrology, Western tropical astrology, you expand your perspective and your consciousness to incorporate the solar system, which is a big expansion. With the galactic astrology, you're really expanding your consciousness to include the whole Milky Way galaxy, all these other star systems within the Milky Way galaxy, and then even beyond that with different black holes we look at and also other galaxies because there are many
I
other
know.
galaxies beyond this one. So it can be very, very expanded and higher level view.
Wow. So the stars, they all have characteristics just like our planets do. Okay.
Yeah, and then
So,
we look at the stars in combination with the planets. So any given person, you look at the natal chart, they all have planets and different zodiac signs, different houses, different degrees. And we look at in galactic astrology the aspects, any conjunctions and oppositions between the natal planets and points with stars and star systems, and even other aspects. In my work, I tend to usually focus on the conjunction and opposition because those are the strongest, the most powerful, and those will indicate strong soul experiences, possibly incarnations, and the strength and potency of the archetypal energies of those stars being expressed through the psychospiritual function of the planet in the person's day-to-day life,
right.
bringing it down to earth. Like each person is a messenger of star consciousness from
Mm.
these other places through possibly their Saturn or their Neptune, maybe their ascendant, their sun, their moon. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So you start becoming aware of specific sets of stars that you're deeply connected to. And it adds a whole layer of meaning to the natal chart, additional layers of meaning.
So everyone has a natal chart. Let's go back for a second. So when you're
Mhm.
born, the planets and the planets are aligned in certain zodiac signs, which in certain degrees then gives you a basis for your personality, right? And you have a rising sign. So this is another layer, adding the star signs that are in conjunction. So in conjunction means that they're in alignment or in the same, right? Kind of same, or in opposition. You mentioned opposition,
Mhm.
so opposite, obviously. So then there's the natal chart and with the signs or in the stars, and then you also have transits that are occurring on a regular basis that are outside a person's chart. It's just the universal transits, like the Jupiter and Uranus Taurus conjunction that just happened. That has also stars associated with that. Okay, cool.
You got it.
Very,
And the
very
transits
cool.
will set off your natal planets and their alignments to those stars. So it can really like highlight that connection you have to that star in your life right now.
Wow. That just added, I mean, I've been loving astrology. I don't know it as deeply as I would love to, but that just added a whole nother layer of this. I don't know. I'm just so curious about how that all works now for myself, having known what I am for all these years and how my chart works with the transits that occur. Now I'm so curious about how all the stars work with it because I've always felt I am somewhat of a star seed to begin with because I also, like I said, I still look at the stars and connect with them from down here. So that this is extremely interesting. You give us an example of how, maybe an example of a reading or a part of a natal chart characteristic and how a star seed or I'm sorry, a star is influencing that. Or maybe we could talk about how the current transits are. Maybe take a current transit and talk about one of the stars associated, maybe with Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, or Jupiter and Taurus.
Yeah,
talk
I
about
think
that.
one thing that comes to mind to share on the first part is that often when we add the dimension of the stars into a person's chart, it confirms stories and dynamics that are already present within the natal chart. And it's just showing them in another way. It's adding to that resonance of a person's natal chart. So that can be very fascinating to look at. I'll also say that I've never drawn up a galactic chart for somebody and found that they have no star alignments, beyond the sun. So I'm not sure that anybody's not a star seed and that it's,
Ah, okay.
not worth looking into, that we're all connected to the
True.
stars and, um, just becoming aware of more of who you truly are and what does it mean to be human and what does it mean to be on the earth and to see how connected you are to this solar system certainly in this earth but also to this galaxy
Mm,
and the divine order of creation at all scales. Think that's some of what is so beautiful about this work, and it just adds to that sense of the divine orchestration and the divine symphony and the magic, the music of life and how the planets and the stars are all always conspiring to help bring out the best and elevate our own music of our soul, of our spirit, of our natal blueprint and birth chart. So yeah, it's inspiring every time I look at these charts. The readings are all different, but very often people are wanting to know more about their soul purpose and then they're also just wanting like a higher level perspective, that reminder of like, well, why am I here? Am I
mm,
really on track, with my life and where I'm at? And can I do better? Is it right to follow this intuition? And I find the readings are really helpful for confirming the intuition that like you are listening to yourself, you are on the right track, and like here's in black and white and color, like all the evidence that's showing that you are being divinely guided and you are divinely supported and held in this sacred cosmos.
yeah. I think more and more people hopefully are starting to tune into their intuitive guidance, but having that type of reading where you're validating it through this reading, right? And it does help. I think people have this underlying, yes, I think I'm on the right path. They just want to hear it from someone else or see something solid on a piece of paper. Um, because there's something that's guiding them. They just don't know what that is, and it circles back to resisting, when you're coming across something and it's you're feeling a pushback or a resistance, it's not the way to go. It's not the path you should take. So there's something that needs to be redirected. I love how and I so I'm what I'm hearing is a lot of people that come to you, they're looking for that their soul's purpose, the direction that they should take in their life, right? So
and
and they
and
walk away.
validation of their
Yeah.
intuition because like beginning a path like Reiki, for example, you start coming more and more into your authentic self. And so astrology can show you more of who your authentic self is and that you are expressing it, that you are on track, and that validation to like, no, really like follow your guidance, like you
Mm,
are being guided, and to continue and that you can trust yourself and that it's all you're right on time too. Is that's another thing is people come in feeling like they're late or like they're off rhythm and they're not. Is what I
yeah.
see again and again and
Meaning
again.
meaning that they should have done something or this years ago. And hey, it's funny. I asked somebody that question the other day too. I said, am I too late? Am I too late to the show and or too old to do what I'm doing? And they're like, no, you're and I know that. I should know that because I I'm really drawn to doing what I'm doing. And I'm talking about this podcast. And but I for a moment I second guessed myself.
Mhm.
And then I was like, no, 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 I do know the answer. But yeah. Um when you do your galactic readings or any of your astrology readings, do you incorporate Reiki as well in your offerings? Can you talk about how you do that?
Yes, I do. I do. For the Galactic Astrology Soul Readings, I will do a Reiki journey for a client first and receive intuitive information about their soul's experience and star connections and more of that galactic information, and also like what highest guidance for them. It's a completely channeled message for them, and I automatic write all of that down, and that sets the foundation for the reading. It also goes in, and Reiki will scan the entire soul history and be there and provide the healing anywhere in the soul's history, in the soul's experience that the person needs, whether it's earthly lifetimes or other planetary experiences outside of the star system, and bringing in the gifts and talents and the mastery, and that a greater sense of unification, wholeness, coherence, clarity, all of that,
Wow.
love,
Wow.
safety, all the great Reiki
Wow.
things. One other thing I forgot to mention about how
Okay.
I use Reiki in my readings is that any type of reading I do, I activate Reiki. So this speaks to a little bit of the ritual too. Is like I activate Reiki as soon as I wake up, recite the ideals to myself,
Yeah.
activate every symbol I'm attuned to, and have Reiki on. And then when I look at a chart for somebody, whether I'm doing the Galactic Astrology Soul Reading, which I just shared about how I do the journey for somebody, or if I offer other types of readings where I don't do such a lengthy journey process. I will just activate Reiki and look at a person's chart and allow the Reiki energy to help me interpret whatever I'm looking at. And
Okay.
that's where all the symbols for me are really helpful, because I've got that light of the divine mind. I've got the mental emotional symbol activated.
Hmm.
I've got,
Well,
the
the Karuna,
karuna.
yeah,
Yeah, nosa
12 symbols. Oh,
activated.
those are
Yeah,
great
and
symbols.
it clicks. And that's how I learned astrology too, is with Reiki activated. So it helped me learn, and then it helps me read the charts and what I'm
Yeah.
looking at, and also helps in the delivery of the reading and the message and what comes through for a person's highest good. So
Mm.
even if I'm doing an astrology reading, it's really I'm in a Reiki held container. It's a healing container. There's a healing energy. All of the words that are being channeled through, they might be astrological language with it or in reference to the person's chart, but it's all at that Reiki frequency just flowing through my voice and my eyes and my breath and everything as I'm doing the reading. So
Yeah.
I cannot imagine doing a reading without Reiki. I can't imagine doing anything without
Anything.
Reiki, and so I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think it changed for
Yeah.
me once I was attuned to be a Karuna Reiki master. That class was very life changing for me, and it's wonderful. And I know you also offer the classes as well. So all your events are on your website, and I will put all the links, of course. But you also hold Reiki classes for people, so you
Right,
do
because I
that
talk
too.
about it all the time, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
oh,
I
it's
I love sharing it. I love sharing Reiki and astrology are my two greatest passions, and to be able to share them with others. And I know a lot of I can't like I said, I can't imagine doing galactic astrology without Reiki, to look into a person's soul records. I just love the way Reiki does any type of work, any type of intuitive work. I
Mm,
love how Reiki does the healing work. It's and how it just blends and merges with whatever we need to do in our lives. It's so practical. It's so
yeah.
useful and helpful. And the intention, just the invitation of Reiki is enough for it to work. I've had to kind of retrain and decondition myself from thinking I needed elaborate rituals and like cleansing and purification and steps and all these complicated things that I need to give this, make a sacrifice in order to like achieve a goal or receive a blessing. And
Right.
Reiki has taught me that that is not the case. I can really I mean, my guides are so patient with me, Reiki's so patient. And as I learn, like, no, that's really not necessary. It can be easy, it can be flow. You can just invite the energy to be there.
Yes.
Use any kind of technique you wish, and Reiki will be there and assist. And the
Yes.
blessings can be there and the goals achieved and everything else. So
Everything. Yeah. No, it's so in aligned with the way I am with Reiki as well. When I first learned it, there were these protocols, right? You had to do it this way. You had to turn it on, turn it off. You had to close your crown. I'm like, what? Okay. But then as you evolve as a teacher and then you explore more energy, the holy fire is different. You you change, like you said, you decondition from the way you are, and you understand that Reiki's flowing no matter what, and it's there for you, and it's guiding you, and it's beautiful. Yeah, everyone should be a Reiki practitioner. More
we
and more
need
people are.
at
We
least
need
one in every house.
absolutely. I also tune I have twin boys, and I tuned them before they went to college. So I haven't tuned them for level 2 yet, but that's coming next. What I want to talk about a little bit is the divine feminine energy and where you see this showing up in astrology.
We can always look to planet Venus and where she is in your natal birth chart, what sign, what house, what aspects between Venus, what is she making? What's her relationship to the other planets? What is your, at a galactic astrology level, do you have any galactic alignments to planet Venus, any star alignments? There's another system of star alignments I work with called the Parans. Are there any
Mm,
Parans to Venus? So there's a depth of looking at it within the natal chart, but we can always look to transiting planet Venus for more information about our divine feminine and all the different phases and shades and colors that she's moving through and really guiding us to express those shades and colors and variations and expressions of the divine feminine, looking at her transits through
mm,
the various zodiac signs. So she is a wonderful indicator. There are also certain zodiac signs that are linked more to the feminine energy. So these would be the earth signs and the water signs.
right.
So you could look at any planet that you have natally in an earth sign or a water sign, and that would be a more naturally, feminine type of energy.
Mm,
So those are a couple different ways in terms of the star systems. Uh, there's Cassiopeia constellation, the
mm,
Queen. There's Andromeda constellation, the Princess. There is, of course, Virgo constellation, the Maiden. So those are all different aspects of the divine feminine. And there's even, we could look at different constellations such as Hydra, like the serpent, as an emanation of the divine feminine, the some of the pole stars as well. So the feminine is in the stars as well, and I think that's what's so helpful because looking at just the planets in our solar system, the only feminine one is Venus,
Mm,
right?
right.
And so by looking at the star connections, the constellations, we can incorporate more of that feminine energy through the stars and even through some of the dwarf planets and objects that are beyond Pluto, which is a dwarf planet. Some of those archetypes are also divine feminine, as well as I'm just getting the light bulb. Taylor, you're missing it right there. The moon, of course, in the
Yeah.
chart is divine feminine mother. The moon. Yes. So
I love
just
the moon.
starting, what's that?
I love the moon.
Yeah. And we can see her,
I know.
it's just, yeah. The
Yeah, she's
moon and
beautiful.
Venus are great places to start and connecting to the moon cycle is a wonderful way to connect with the divine feminine.
Mm.
The phases of the moon, the new moons, that's when I like to host my distant Reiki shares and
Yeah. Talk about
plant
that.
planting a seed of intention. That's one of the first ways I really started applying astrology and working with the divine timing is I was guided to start hosting Reiki shares, not just at like a weekly rhythm or a monthly rhythm, but actually lining them up with the new moon
Mm,
because that's a wonderful time to plant a seed of intention, a fresh start, a new possibility. And then to also be in the support of a group where we can help empower our own and each other's intentions because there's so much research and study showing that when groups gather and empower intentions for a particular person or for the group, they come true. You add Reiki into that, it's like something that already works, without Reiki, adding Reiki to that, it's infinite possibilities what
yeah.
can be accomplished in just that divine timing too, adding the divine timing and Reiki to just that intention setting and the power of a group in a circle. It's yeah, it's very powerful,
Yeah, it's
these.
very synonymous with divine energy, divine feminine energy, like you said, with the moon. So you offer this every new moon,
Mhm.
and so I know, well, by the time this you'll have the next new moon show up, and anyone can join free as well,
That's
right? And
right.
you offer that, yeah. So those are something everyone needs to check out. So hopefully, yes, we're gonna put that link in there. I know I just signed up for your next one. So I can't wait to
It's
experience
good.
that. We need to talk about Jupiter in Gemini, right? So when is it going into? I didn't write the day down. So sometime in May, Jupiter.
Yes. Yes. Jupiter has been in Taurus
Right.
for about a year now, and it changes sign and enters Gemini May 25th of this year. Will stay in the zodiac sign of Gemini for about a year until June of 2025. So Jupiter's orbital period is about 12 years. It takes Jupiter about 12 years to make one entire orbit all the way around the sun. So by being like a nice number like that, there are 12 zodiac signs. It
Right.
spends about a year in each sign. So it's changing sign just about every year, but it's slow enough where there is a big energetic shift and it's working with a different house area in your natal chart as it transits through the different signs. So it's bringing blessings and hope and magic and good fortune and possibilities and new opportunities wherever in whatever sign it's transiting in whatever house that sign is in your natal chart.
Mm,
And it's a planet, it's considered the great benefic and a bringer of good fortune and expansion. I mean, just think about the planet Jupiter and how super massive it is. It expands everything it touches.
mm. So what are some of the things we should expect with this transit, you think? Because I know Gemini's communication. So maybe
Right.
some changes in the way communication is, maybe more AI, possibly. Right.
Yeah. So Jupiter expands whatever zodiac sign it is in, and Gemini is the twins. It's a sign of duality
Duality.
and ultimately, hopefully, balance as well. It's a very mental sign. So, even more mental activity, insights, downloads,
Mm.
communication, mental activity. So, mindfulness being huge, being very aware of where is my mind, and being able to reel that back in. And is it my story? Is it somebody else's story? Is it society's story? Is it culture story? What are the stories I wish to be telling myself and listening to? That's where like the Reiki ideals can be really
Mm.
helpful at the beginning of the day to set that up that, I'm not going to worry, I'm not going to be angry, so that foundation is there. I'm going to be kind to others. I'm going to be grateful and work hard, that there can be that sense of focus, because Gemini is a mutable air sign. It can be very scattering. It can be very all over the place. So grounding, very, very helpful. It is a great time for communication, meeting new people. Gemini and the air signs are social signs. So getting together, talking things out, exchanging ideas, and really learning new things, teaching new things, studying new things, reading, writing, speaking, telepathy,
Yeah,
opening the
telepathy,
the
right?
clairsenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time to open your mind and your heart to new possibilities. Gemini is also like a youthful
Mm.
sign. So there could be a focus on that. Society's already obsessed with eternal youth and,
Yeah.
immortality and anti-aging and all of these kinds of things.
Well,
But there is that fresh energy, playful energy, lighthearted, and yeah, just very open to new and different. And ooh, I'll go here. Ooh, I'll go there. It can be a little bit of like saying yes to everything.
I like that. Maybe it's also a chance for us to rewrite our story, you know, kind of create a new, almost, I don't want to say identity, but I guess an identity in a way, and look at how we've been, and maybe invite a little bit more playfulness, because a lot of people are so serious and they're
Hmm.
always so in their minds and thinking and doing, and hopefully we'll step back from that a little bit and enjoy a little levity in our
Hmm.
lives and connect with others, create I see tribes, like community and tribes, and that to help people. I love that. So
Yeah.
that is happening for the next year.
Social media too would fall under Gemini. Transportation also under Gemini. So developments, expansion, change in
Mm,
how we are, this could be a lot of new social media platforms and even more discourse, and also changes. I mean, we're seeing the automotive industry change,
yeah.
radically, and flying and spacecraft and all of these
Oh,
kinds of
yeah.
things as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then you
big.
have the Pluto in Aquarius, which is a longer transit, and Aquarius
Mhm.
being the sign of technology. I think is going to really speed up, for lack of a better term. Um,
Yes.
right? A lot of changes,
Speed.
not
That's,
speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
energy will pick up. So once Jupiter is in Gemini, really end of May, things will be moving quicker. That
Mm,
will be part of this, because Jupiter and Taurus is a fixed sign. It's an earth sign. It's
mm,
slow, it's stagnant. It can,
yeah.
yeah, it's just plodding along. Like once Taurus gets going, it can get going, but it is a lot slower. And
Right.
with Gemini, it's like all full speed ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes even before the planets go into a new planet, people feel the shifts. I don't know. People say to me, they may say this to you, something's happening. I feel different. I feel weird. What's going on, Rose? I'm like, and then I'll start, telling them this is happening or this is happening. Do you also get those same questions, or maybe they're experiencing an energy solar flare that's occurring, or some galactic energy? And we feel that in our bodies, right?
And
Yeah.
that's another reason the astrology can be so validating. It's like, oh, that's what I'm feeling. Like that's what's going on. And that's so validating to know like you are so in tune with these larger rhythms and processes, and it's not random and disconnected. You're connected. You're not separate from any of this.
Right.
We're each a part of it. And that's so beautiful.
Do you see more and more people becoming more curious about galactic astrology and even Reiki? Because Reiki is still somewhat new, and more people are learning about it and being more accepting of Reiki. Same for galactic astrology, like, and astrology in general.
Absolutely. With
Yeah.
Pluto in Aquarius the next 20 years. So I will, asterisk that with Pluto will move back into Capricorn in September, October through November 18th, November 19th, it will be back in Aquarius. So we do have a sense of retraction of that Aquarian energy for a brief bit. But with Pluto re-entering Aquarius November 19th of this year, 2024, and being in the sign of Aquarius the next 20 years, that is really speaking to community, global networks, interconnectedness, astrology, Aquarius, the zodiac sign, rules, astrology, energy healing, Reiki, those being more acceptable, accessible, recognized, credible also, and also people ready for and looking for answers and looking for connections and communities and safe spaces to explore and practice and
Mm.
learn and grow and develop and bring in more of their authentic self and share it and be able to sustain being a spiritually connected human being with their authentic gifts and talents and skills and abilities and live that way
Yeah.
and enjoy life that way.
Yeah. We're going to see more and more people as light workers, as healers, emerge, be more comfortable with their skills and their innate abilities, and it's going to be wonderful. I was picturing something with this technology. I was thinking that, you know, hopefully we'll be able to show up, like, you're in Hawaii, I'm in New Jersey. We can feel we're in the same space, not just through Zoom, but like you're right here and I'm right here. We can hang out and have a cup of tea
Hmm.
without being on Zoom, but it will feel real. I feel that it's probably already happening somewhere in some lab, but you know, virtually, I guess that's
Oh,
it's a way to say
definitely.
it, but that would be kind of cool, right? Where we're at a distance, but we can be connected and maybe even do Reiki healing, and the person's not really there, but they're there. I don't know, some ideas there. That's the Aquarian in me. I'm always thinking about new things. Is there anything else you wanted to add or talk about? Once again, some of your upcoming offerings, or anything that you want to highlight as far as what you do?
I would love to highlight and invite everybody to the new moon distant Reiki shares that we already mentioned every new moon, and you can learn more about those on my website. So it's a good way to come and learn a little bit about the astrology that's going on and also be very supportive with a Reiki journey that will help you connect with the stars and connect with the planets and the cosmos in a supportive, safe space to do that. And also start working with the moon cycle because it is held every new moon to get in that rhythm. It helps us be in rhythm more with the earth, with the moon, with the divine feminine, with ourselves, and be become aware of our connection to these cycles of nature even more so, and combining that with Reiki and with astrology. It's just, yeah, a really lovely experience. So I invite everybody to those. All levels of Reiki and astrology experience are welcome. I'm also teaching a class on Jupiter and Gemini, which we were talking about just briefly. It's called Expanding Mental Mastery, and really bringing in the great fortune of the divine mind and learning more about Jupiter and astrology, Gemini and astrology, what the two mean together. What are all the different star alignments and galactic activations and star family that will be highlighted over the course of the next year?
Yeah.
And also receive a channeled Reiki journey that's very specific to the transit, because Reiki is really guiding me to help and facilitate groups in this way, working with the higher frequencies of any given transit, and to explore what that means and to be able to harness it for our goals and our life path and our experience. And yeah, just feel that sense of safety and community and homecoming and belongingness in all of it. So the classes are really fun, and I, yeah, super enjoy inviting all levels of astrology experience and Reiki to those also. So even if
Great.
you're a beginner, that's totally okay. That's
If
how
a
you
person,
learn.
well, I was going to say, if a person for the new moon um, sessions that you have, do they need to be a Reiki practitioner?
No,
Okay,
no.
great. Great. Oh, wonderful. Yes. It's wonderful to receive, even though, you won't be able to send, but you have the intention anyway. You hold the intention, you're just sending the wonderful energy. Well, I want to thank you, Taylor, for being here today. You have just this beautiful way about you, and I love how you shared your experience, and I hope that people will find you and share this space with you and learn from you, because I know that you are a wonderful teacher and a beautiful human. And I want to thank you again for being here on Chat Off the Mat.
Thank you so much, Rose. It's been my pleasure being together with you, and I hope our listeners found a nugget or two of wisdom and maybe sparked an insight just being in the field of this information and this connection we had today. And yes, I'm so grateful to you, Rose, for following your Reiki guidance and hosting this podcast and inviting me to be your guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you.